Okay, so in here, if you go to SRC feature entries, right? Yeah. So this is the final list of features. So within this list, you need to register the features except this one-day features. So we don't register the one-day features because like these one-day features we are computing only so that we can use them when we are computing the other aggregate features like 30-day features, 90-day features. So these one-day features are actually not consumed by model. So these are computed just for our aggregations only.
Okay.
So whenever you try to register a feature, you just need to make sure that it's not a one-day feature because those features are not used by model. Model only uses this aggregate features. So just leave this one-day features and take the remaining features which you see here, like these features, merchant decline, these ones, everything except this one day.
Okay. So, like Rama asked, how many features are there? You told that 36 or 35. So, apart from this one day, right? 35 features are there.
Yeah. Apart from that, you can register, try to prepare configs for the other features. And then also you don't need to get the features from business because the business features are nothing but the features which you have above, like the technical features. So if you look at, I can show you here. So these are actually the technical features which we are trying to register, like this merchant transaction count 30 days and all. But if you look at this business features, right, which we have at the end. So what this business features does is it actually reads from the technical features which you generated above, right? So if you see this business feature, it's dependent on this particular data source, which is nothing but in here. So you just need to register this feature because it's the same feature you'll have below as well. So just for your information, like we don't need to duplicate these features.
Okay.
Like the same feature you'll see here as well as in this group, right? So just register from this UPG underscore, not from the business group. But it's the same feature we are just using in this group. So when you try to register, right, you need to register only this UPG underscore feature groups.
Okay.
Yeah. The business is just like it's referring to the same feature which we are trying to create in the above feature groups.
Okay.
Yeah. So this contains the final list. I think we have close to prepared the list. Yeah. So if you remove business, right, I think we have, if you remove business and one day, we have close to 20 features. So we just need to register them. You don't need to worry about this business groups as well as the work. You need to pick all the features from this remaining feature groups. I'll ping you the feature group names as well. Yeah. So this is clear, right? Like which features to register.
Yeah.
Once you register the feature, the next step is to test those registrations. Like whenever you register a feature, if you look at the Swagger, it generates the feature ID, right? So the model will generally get the feature values based on the feature ID. So we just need to make sure that like whatever the features we are registering, are those registrations valid or not? Like how do we make sure that those registrations are valid? So we do the feature testing, something called the feature testing. So that is documented in this Confluence. I'll just send you this Confluence, but I'll explain you as well, like what we do in that feature testing, right? So the first step is the feature registration, which you are already doing, right? So the testing comes into picture after you have done the registration, right? So the second step here is to upload data to DynamoDB. So currently, if you remember, we are only generating the features. We are not uploading anything to Dynamo yet.
Correct.
So what we can do is you can upload some mock data to DynamoDB. I have a script for that. I'll give it to you. So the reason why we are uploading mock data to DynamoDB is like, I mean, if you run the entire pipeline, once you generate the features, we also upload it to Dynamo, because whenever the model tries to read that feature, it picks from the Dynamo only. But we don't have the Dynamo, the Dynamo load set up yet. Just for the testing, we can upload some mock data to DynamoDB, right?
Okay.
For this particular feature, let's say this is one feature. This is the ID. What we can do is, for this particular feature, we can upload a mock value to DynamoDB.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you how we are testing with that mock data. So once you mock the data to DynamoDB, what we can do is we can trigger something called rules. So how this rules works is, so in Shield, the features are getting pulled from the Shield registry using these rules only. So what we do in a rule is, if this is one rule, I'll show you like how to trigger this rule as well. But if you look at the rule, what the rule contains is, it contains the feature name, it contains the entity for which you are trying to trigger the rule for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it also contains the expression. Let's say in this rule, I'm saying trigger this rule when this particular feature name, like pay count distinct SH1 here, if this particular feature name, feature value is greater than 1, then only this rule gets triggered for this particular entity. So that whenever you're trying to mock the feature value to Dynamo, we also mock the entity as well. Like we'll try to upload data to Dynamo for a particular entity.
Okay.
Why? Because I can show you like how the Dynamo looks like. I mean, even if this testing doesn't make sense to you now, I can explain this I can show you I can test one particular feature in front of you, and then maybe you can follow the same for others as well. But I'm just explaining you so that you get the context.
Okay.
So our DynamoDB will be in the Shield account, not our data lake account. So this is the Shield account for UAT. And the table is this one, app aggregation feature store QA1. So like whatever the load we do, like whatever the upload, feature upload we do to Dynamo, we do it to this particular table only, app aggregation. Yeah, if you look at this DynamoDB, I'm showing an example of one entry in DynamoDB. So what this entry contains is the feature key, the last updated timestamp, feature value, and TTL. So when you mock the data, I'll show you like how you mock the data.
What is TTL?
TTL is nothing but like, let's say we upload the features to DynamoDB every day, right? But we don't want to have these features for this particular merchant throughout, right? Like for eternity. We do define a TTL, like I want this feature to be active only for 2 days, only for 10 days, only for 30 days. Once this TTL is reached, the feature will be automatically, like this entry will be automatically deleted in DynamoDB.
Okay.
We don't want, like, let's say a merchant makes a transaction, right? And then we record the transaction and we upload the transaction to DynamoDB, right? Let's say tomorrow, this merchant, like he removed his account from JPMC and he's not making any transaction. So if you don't have this TTL in place, this particular entry will always be in DynamoDB, right? It will persist forever in DynamoDB. Yeah. Even though we don't need that merchant, right?
Hmm.
That's why we have this TTL in place. Let's say if you're setting TTL to 30 days, so if a transaction is not coming from that merchant in the last 30 days, you will not find any entry for that merchant in DynamoDB.
Okay.
Got it?
So the limit you have set is 30 days.
Like it depends on
It
the
depends
project. For
on.
FI, we currently have a TTL of 30 days. For
Okay.
Janus, we have a TTL of 2 days.
Okay.
You can set this TTL when you are trying to upload these entries to DynamoDB.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the script I use to upload mock data to DynamoDB. So what we are uploading here is, let's say I have this group. If you look at this group, right, you can find it in, where is this? Yeah, merchant ACH return close group. This is the group. So this group has 4 features. And then the entity column for this group is transaction processing entity identifier, right? So whenever you upload any mock data to DynamoDB, you upload for a particular merchant. So this transaction processing entity identifier is nothing but like, it's an identifier for a particular merchant, right, for which you are trying to mock the transaction.
Okay.
And then these are the feature values. So I have the same here. Like this is my feature group. I'm asking to fetch the values from this JSON file which I have here. And then this is the feature name. And then the feature ID. So the feature ID you'll get from Swagger. When you register the feature, you're getting this feature ID, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to provide this feature ID as well. So the reason we need this feature ID is the feature key you see here. This is nothing but we are doing a SHA-256 of the feature ID plus the entity column, right?
Mm.
So the reason we are doing that is, so this particular merchant will have different set of features, right? So this merchant will have this feature, this merchant will have this feature, this feature, this feature. So how do we differentiate that the feature value we are fetching is from a particular merchant, right?
Mm.
So that we differentiate using these 2 keys. One is the feature ID. Feature ID is associated with a particular feature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you do a hash of the feature ID along with the entity column. So I can show you that logic also, like how we are doing the hash. You see here the feature key, how we are computing this feature key. So this feature key is computed using the join entities. If you look at the join entities, what we are doing is we are taking, where is this entities? Entity column. Yeah, so the entity column is nothing but the transaction processing identifier for this particular feature, and the feature ID. Where are we getting this feature ID? So entities. That is this config. Okay. So, I mean, you can go through the script, but what we are basically doing to get this feature key is we are doing like hash of feature ID, which we get from Swagger, and then we have this delimiter, right? This is nothing but like hash. So this is the hash value of the delimiter.
Mm-hmm.
Feature ID, hash, and then the entity value. So here, this is the entity, right? And then this is the value. This one. So when you do an hash of these three values, you will get this feature key, which you see in the DynamoDB.
Okay.
So when the data science team hits the model, like when the model tries to fetch this feature value, it will decrypt based on the same columns which you use to hash it. So let's say um, we are requesting a model to get the score for a particular merchant, right? So what the model has is the model will have the entity value for which it is trying to fetch the score, right? So the model will have this particular entity column and its value. So for this particular merchant, the model wants what's the feature value, right? So how does the model fetch this feature value? So it generates the hash like how we are generating. It decrypts using the same feature ID. So the model will contain all the feature IDs which we registered in the feature registry. So it will pass the feature ID, it will pass the delimiter, and it will pass the merchant ID for which it's trying to generate the score. When you pass all these three, the model will get this particular hash key, this key. So when the model does a lookup on this particular hash key, it gets this particular feature value.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are encrypting using the same keys and the model decrypts them using the same keys.
Good.
So whenever you are uploading the mock data to DynamoDB, what we upload is we provide like what's the feature ID and what's the entity column and what's the entity column value and the feature value here. So if you remember the rules which I was showing you, right? So if you look at the rules also contain the same information to pass the entity for which we are trying to trigger the rule for. And then we also need to pass the feature value here. This is the feature name and then this is the feature value. So whenever the feature value is greater than 1, this particular feature value is greater than 1, this rule gets triggered. And then when this rule gets triggered, what Shield does is it does a lookup on the same combination which I'm showing you. Right? It does a lookup based on this combination, and then it fetches the feature value. So if it's fetching the same value that you're mocking, that means that the feature ID and the entity columns which are using to register that feature is valid.
Okay.
Got it? Yeah. So we mock using the entity column and the feature value, and then once this rule gets triggered, the decision output, whenever you trigger this rule, right, we also trigger something called a transaction. So everything happens in production by automated, but when we are trying to test it, we mock everything. Even we mock the transaction as well. I'll show you like how you mock the transaction. I think I already showed you, right, how we are trying to mock the transaction.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is like a transaction for payment acceptance checkpoint. So here, if you see, these are my entity columns, right? If you see, we also have transaction processing entity identifier here. So what I'll do is, I will mock a transaction for this particular transaction processing identifier, right? I'll take this value, put it in here. You need to have the same value for all the entity columns you have in the payload. Yeah. So I have the same entity column here. With this entity, I mock the data. So the data is in DynamoDB, right? And then I created a rule. The second step is to create the rule. I created a rule for that particular entity and for that particular feature, right? Once this is done, we need to initiate a transaction. Even we are mocking this transaction, this is not an actual transaction, right? Like you are passing this particular entity and then you are passing some dummy values here.
Correct.
So when you initiate this transaction, what happens in the backend is you initiate a transaction for this particular merchant ID, right? So for this merchant ID, whatever the role that is associated with this merchant ID, the rule gets triggered. Let's say you created this rule already in the previous step. Yeah. So for it triggers this rule, and then this rule checks, like let's say you mock this particular feature. The rule checks whether this feature has, this expression is valid or not, whether the feature value mocked is greater than 1 or not, right? If it's greater than 1, it gets the feature value and it will give you that feature value in the decision output. So how you can check the decision output? You can check it here. It's written in this document as well. So the fourth step is to initiate a transaction. I'll do the setup for you later. So you initiate a transaction from Bruno. Once you initiate a transaction, you validate the results. We have something called decision output controller. So what this page is not working now. So what this contains is that the decision controller, it will show you like which rule got triggered and what's the payload you are passing from Bruno here, right? So you are passing this payload, and then you are triggered this particular rule, and then what's the output you got once you triggered that rule. So all the details you can see in this decision controller. So in this decision controller, for your feature which you mock, you should see something like this. Let's say in here, I mocked value for this particular feature, and then I created a rule for this particular feature, and in the decision output, I need to see like the value which I mocked in DynamoDB.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So if you don't do the registration correctly, let's say this particular feature has these keys, but if you register with the different keys, right? And then you pass those keys to the payload, it won't be able to do the lookup, right? Because when you registered, you pass a different set of keys, and when you are initiating a transaction and doing the rule creation, you're using a different set of keys.
Yeah. One question: how is the value 10?
Because he mocked the value of 10 when he's trying to upload the data to DynamoDB. Here, let's say for this particular feature, I'm mocking value 10. In the decision output, I should see 10.
Sure, I got it.
That's when I'll find out that you are fetching the value from the DynamoDB correctly. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So just for now, you prepare the configs, and when you want to test, right, I will show you like one sample, like how do we test a feature end to end using this entire setup.
Okay. For this, I need to get some access. I have Swagger UI.
No, you'll have access.
Bruno?
Let me open the endpoint. I think they changed the endpoints, but let's say I open this one. Yeah. So when you want to create a role, right, there will be an endpoint for role as well.
Capital letters you put. Yeah.
I'm making it not responding. Not this one. There will be an API endpoint for role creation.
Okay.
Yeah, role control. So here, this is where we create the roles. Yeah. So if you come here, right, we in this role controller we have something called post rules, right? So what we need to do is we need to create that rule. Come here, write out, and then you need to provide your rule here. Let's say just for your reference, I'm trying to create a rule. Yeah. So I provided like this is the entity for which I'm trying to test, and then this is the feature, and then this is the value. Let's say you gave this condition like feature value greater than, let's say you gave feature value greater than 10. But when you mock it, if you mock the feature value as 5, the rule will never get triggered, right? Then you won't be able to test the feature because you're saying the feature value will be greater than 10, but when you're mocking it as 5. So just make sure that you mock the values correctly. And then if you submit this, right, the rule will get created. You see? Okay, for UAT, it's showing accustomate, but we need to test this in dev. What's the endpoint for dev? Yeah, I mean, it will be the same endpoint. It's just that instead of GA1, you need to put it as dev1. And in this cluster, it's UAT, right? It's referring to, you need to put it as dev. Yeah. So this is the dev swagger, which we need to kind of register the feature. The feature registration tool is a different one. Like that's a different endpoint which you already have, right? It's in this Confluence. So this is actually where you can see the features, where you can see the rules, where you can see the decision output. This is risk decisions API. This is not the registration API. The registration API is this one. MM, this one you already, I think you already have this, right?
Yes, I have.
MM utility service. This is for registration. This is for you to check the features, rules, and decision outputs, right? So this is how like you trigger a rule, and then once you trigger the rule, and then once you initiate a transaction, right? We can see the like decision output in this decision output controller. So if you come here, it will ask you for the ID. So this ID you'll get whenever you are trying to submit a transaction. Let's say if I'm trying to submit a transaction for this dev1, you need to provide a unique ID. So I'll just changing this unique ID. And then I'm submitting this transaction. So this transaction got submitted. So I just take this ID, come to this decision controller, put the ID here, and then get the decision output. So this is the decision output. Okay, so if you look closely, what this decision output says is, this is your payload which is submitted. This is your idempotency key, right? This is the checkpoint. I just submitted a transaction for payment acceptance, right? So this is for pre-auth checkpoint. And then if you see the entities, like these are the entities which are provided in the request, right? These entities. And then these are the other values which are passed to the decision, like the payload. You can see all those values here. If you come down in this lookup data, you're not seeing anything here. But once you register the feature correctly and once you have the data uploaded to DynamoDB, you will see your feature and its value here in this lookup data. Okay. Just like in this Confluence space. You see, in this decision output, in this lookup data, he is able to see his feature, the entity column and the value, right?
Correct.
So when you do the registration correctly and when you upload the correct data to DynamoDB, you'll see your features in this lookup data.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So just prepare the config files. Once you are ready with the config files, I can simply show you like how to test one feature, and then you can do the testing for remaining features. So the reason which they want us to do this testing is, let's say you created this feature, right? Like we created the feature configs and then we registered the features, right, in dev. And then once the PR gets merged, the registration will be done automatically in UAT. In the same config files will go to production. Once the files are in production, like once the features are in production, and once like the model is deployed to production, it will start getting the feature values from the feature register, right, based on this registration. If they see any issue there, then it's a long process to update the feature in production directly.
Correct.
Again, we need to delete the feature and then do the registration again. It's a long process. It's a difficult process. And even the Sentinel team has to make some changes if any feature gets changed, like the feature ID gets changed. So they don't want us to have that mess in production. So that's why they want us to register everything in dev correctly first. Test all the registration in dev, and then only you move to UAT and production.
Okay.
Yeah. Just prepare the configs. Once you're ready with the configs, I'll show you like how to test one feature in one feature group, right?
Okay.
And then you can test for others.
Okay. The go to Teams, and what you have shared me, this number of features only are left, or I have to take it out from that sheet also?
Oh, these are the feature groups.
Okay, feature
If
group.
you go to the repo which I pinged you, right? So within these groups, you'll find the features. So we need to register those features.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, right? So I pinged you these group names.
Okay, group names you can find.
Group names. Within this group, you'll have like some features, right? These are the feature entries. We need to register the features.
Got it.
These
So
are,
one
this
day
is
and
just the
business,
group name.
I don't have to take. I have to like apart from that, all the features I have to register.
Yeah. Just remove. Don't include one days, like this one days as well as the business ones.
Got
You
it.
can just take the features from these names I pinged you.
Okay, sure. Got it.
Right? Yeah.